In the darkest depths of our oceans and the most remote corners of our planet, nature has been quietly crafting life forms that seem to defy the very laws of evolution. These bizarre creatures, with their otherworldly appearances and inexplicable abilities, blur the line between terrestrial and extraterrestrial. Are they simply the products of Earth's extreme environments, or could they be evidence of something far more extraordinary? Prepare to question everything you thought you knew about life on our planet as we dive into the mysterious world of animals so strange they just might be alien.
Starting us off, we have a story about a massive structure that was found in Antarctica by a former Navy SEAL. So in 2018, this individual who had worked at the South Pole shared a pretty outlandish story with journalist Linda Moulton Howe. He chose to remain anonymous because the information he revealed was apparently highly classified. He said that in August of 2003, he and his team were on a top secret mission disguised as this research reconnaissance trip. Now, during the mission, they came across a large, dark structure protruding from the ice. They all looked at each other and said, "What the hell is that?" and decided to check it out. The structure had large, square doors that slid back into the walls when pushed, revealing a long hallway inside. The interior was lit with a mysterious green light that didn't really seem to be coming from anywhere. The walls were also covered in strange hieroglyphics which no one recognized. Definitely a pretty out there story, but as we'll discuss more in this video, given that Antarctica is one of the most remote and unpopulated places on Earth, it would be a pretty ideal location for extraterrestrial beings to operate without being detected. Also, would you go into that structure, or would you just stay the hell away? I don't know, I might have gone in.
Next up, we have the fact that the government is hiding pyramids located in Antarctica, believed to have been built by a secret ancient civilization. In 2016, the discovery of the pyramids was made public. 3 large triangular prisms, one measuring over 1,222 meters, 4,000 feet tall, were found on the continent. That's over 10 times the height of the famous Great Pyramid of Giza located in Egypt, making this discovery kind of a big deal. While the government maintains that the structures are natural and that no records of ancient civilizations in the area exist, the public and us, we know better. The pyramids are too angular to be organic, and so it's highly likely that they are not, but rather were built by an ancient, highly advanced and intelligent civilization that inhabited Antarctica some 100,000 million years ago. Perhaps the Anunnaki? Conspiracy theorists believe that at one point in time Antarctica was the equator of Earth, and so living and building conditions would have been much better. Not only that, but if the government is actively hiding the structures and information about them from Google Earth and other search engines, they must have found something worth hiding. Perhaps some secrets of the universe, the cure for cancer, a renewable energy source. Only time will tell.
The Antarctic Impulsive Transient Antenna, or ANITA, experiment is a NASA-funded project using a bunch of antennas attached to a giant balloon that flies over Antarctica. It picks up radio signals from high-energy particles coming from deep space that encounter Earth's atmosphere. Now, some signals skim the Earth's surface before reaching ANITA, while others bounce off the ice. Now, during its flights in 2006 and 2014, ANITA detected some unusual signals that seemed to be coming from beneath the surface, which was strange. The signals should have been coming from out in space. Scientists also used another device called IceCube, a neutrino telescope with detectors buried near the South Pole. An IceCube can detect tiny flashes of light produced by particles when neutrinos pass through the ice. The idea here was that if ANITA's signals were from neutrinos, IceCube should also be able to detect them. But after analyzing 8 years of data, no matching signals were found in IceCube. Physicist Justin Vanderbroek from the University of Wisconsin-Madison pointed out that if the ANITA signals were astrophysical, they should have been detectable by IceCube, but they weren't. It's a mystery that still hasn't been solved. Some theories suggest that the signals could be from radio waves bouncing through the hidden caverns or lakes in the ice. Some scientists are even thinking these particles might be related to dark matter, which is thought to make up most of the universe's matter but has never been directly detected. But there's an even crazier idea that maybe these particles are coming from a parallel universe, one that is a mirror image of ours, and that's why these signals are coming from below rather than above. Kind of hard to wrap your head around, but point is, scientists are really confused about it, and that's always really cool.
Going back to our earlier conversation about ancient and highly advanced civilizations living in Antarctica, many people believe that beneath the icy continent lies the forgotten, lost city of Atlantis, which makes a lot of sense if you believe the fact that Antarctica was once the equator of the planet. Atlantis was an ancient subtropical city, so it would have been somewhere warm during ancient times, not somewhere that's warm now. To take things a step further, it is believed by many, and recorded in Charles Hapgood's book, that the people of Atlantis migrated from Antarctica as temperatures began to cool to the Aztec, Mayan, and Egyptian empires in an effort to preserve their peoples and spread their knowledge. This would also explain the similarities between the empires, their advanced skill sets for their time, their teachings, and their archaeological structures. I'm just saying.
Now, I don't think there's anything cooler than the discovery of a brand new species, and in 2021 that's exactly what happened in Antarctica. A team of scientists from New Zealand were drilling in the Larsen ice shelf and actually discovered a never-before-seen ecosystem. They drilled about 1,640 feet into this massive ice sheet in the Antarctic peninsula using a hot water hose. They sent a camera into the hole where they found this subterranean ice chamber, but soon they noticed their video feed was being obscured, and they weren't sure what was causing the problem at first. They might have thought their equipment was damaged, but pretty soon they realized that zipping through the water were hundreds of little shrimp-like creatures, scientifically known as amphipods. Now, small crustaceans living in the water, it doesn't seem all that exciting at first glance, but this team was very excited about this. They hadn't been expecting to find life thriving this deep below the ice. They'd found a never-before-seen ecosystem down below the Antarctic ice sheet. That's pretty cool. I mean, who knows what else could be living down there?
For this next one, guys, I'm gonna have to take a little liberties with my language so I don't breach guidelines. Let's get into it. Next up on the list today, we have the conspiracy theory that Antarctica is actually the hidden entrance to center Earth. In January of 2019, it was reported by NASA that scientists had discovered two craters deep beneath the permafrost of Antarctica that were first discovered by the team in 2006 and are believed by scientists to have been created by one of the many asteroids to hit Earth millions of years ago, and that led to the extinction of the dinosaurs. Conspiracy theorists, however, have a different idea as to what the crater might be, and that is the entrance to Inner Earth, where a secret base reminiscent of World War II atrocities lies. If you're not seeing what I'm saying, you might want to pick up a history book, and I'm sure it'll hit ya. Beyond the base, it is believed that a tropical sanctuary dedicated to gluttony and profanity exists inside of the Earth, accessible to only the richest and most elite members of global society.
Speaking of the whole hollow Earth thing though, next we have the reports made by American naval officer Richard E. Byrd after returning from an expedition to the South Pole. Operation Highjump, officially known as the United States Navy Antarctic Developments Program, took place from 1946 to 1947 and was led by Admiral Richard E. Byrd. Now, on the surface, this mission was about establishing a research base and training personnel to work in cold conditions, but could something else have been going on? Operation Highjump was actually, according to this theory, a covert military operation aimed at investigating this underground society beneath the ice. According to this story, he and his team actually flew into this underground entrance to the center of the Earth, where they came across what is often referred to as the Crystal City. Here there were extraterrestrial beings, strange aircraft. It was this entirely different world, and there was lush forests below the ice as well. Now, after having found it, Richard E. Byrd was pressured into keeping quiet about it, and the story didn't surface until years later when his journal was found, where he'd written about his account.
Circling back to the craters for a quick second, some people believe that the two craters located in Antarctica are not the entrance to Center Earth or even an incredibly racist military base, but rather the entrances to a secret alien UFO base. You see, rather than an asteroid, UFO conspiracy theorist Scott Warning believes that a UFO caused the crater when it crashed into Earth and became buried in the permafrost, and that now the crater is being used by the government to house other UFOs and evidence of extraterrestrial life and activity. He also claimed to have seen an unedited image of the crater in which he could see the UFO sticking out, but that now all evidence of the spacecraft has since been wiped from the internet.
Now, you're gonna have to stretch your suspension of disbelief for this one, if you haven't already done that, but I think this is a fun story. So organism 46b is an urban legend centered around a mysterious aquatic creature allegedly discovered by Russian scientists while drilling in Voltok Lake. So this creature is said to be a gelatinous organism, almost like a giant squid with incredibly deadly venom and the ability to rapidly shapeshift and mimic other marine life. Now, according to the legend, organism 46b has a unique method of hunting. It can extend a set of thin, flexible filaments from its body to paralyze and then consume its prey. The legend claims that Russian scientists experimented with this organism 46b, attempting to understand its abilities to potentially weaponize them. Now, these experiments went wrong, resulting in the deaths of several researchers. Then the Russian government covered up the whole incident.
And finally, we have probably the most believable theory that the entirety of Antarctica is actually one big, highly unethical weapons testing facility. Many people believe that the reason for Antarctica being such a highly restricted zone is due to the fact that the world's leaders are using it, in collaboration with some highly intelligent but severely unethical scientists, to create unfathomable weapons of mind control and mass destruction. From explosives far more dangerous than the world's largest nukes, to chips that can be implanted into the human brain or slipped into our water supply to cause unwavering devotion to the world's upper class on a global scale. Basically, whatever you can think of that is terrifying, it's there. And if it's not, they're working on it. It's a pretty scary thought, but considering the track record of governments using secret testing facilities to test out secret weapons of mass destruction, it's really not that far out there.
In our number 10 spot, we have a frozen alien corpse. Scientists have discovered this frozen alien corpse in Russia. It was found by two people in Siberia after claims of a UFO came to Earth. Allegedly, it was missed by the Russian military after they cleaned up the area after the crash. The corpse was pretty damaged, but the being was 2 feet high and part of his right leg was missing. Also, apparently this particular area in Russia is a hotspot for UFO sightings, and there are a number of reports of sightings every single year. In fact, there was a sighting that reported seeing a UFO crash in the area, and so the finding of this alien corpse aligns with that sighting. Whoa, I want to go to Siberia now. If there is anyone watching from Russia, from Siberia, please tell us of any other sightings that you may have come across in the comment section below. In our number 9 spot, we have traces of potential alien DNA. Scientists have recently discovered traces of DNA outside some of the Antarctic caves, which could suggest alien life. From algae DNA to small animals, there was so much evidence to support the idea that perhaps there once was a lot more living species in Antarctica. They did not come across any animals in the caves at the time, but they still found this to be a great discovery and have reason to believe that they will discover more evidence as they continue their search, or perhaps alien life might be underneath the ice sheets as there are warm temperatures coming from underneath the sheets, and that would suggest that it might be a place they could easily live in. In our number 8 spot, we have UFO discovered. That's right, in October of 2020, satellite photos of Antarctica were taken that had many people stop in their tracks. Surrounded by ice and snow, and with some ice still on it, we see an object that looks like half of a flying saucer that is also a bit raised, casting a shadow around it. As the ice sheets continue to melt around the world, it is believed that is why it has now been revealed, and it is also believed believe that this is potentially an aircraft from thousands if not millions of years ago. According to experts, Antarctica would be a great place for aliens to go to because of how sterile it is, so it would make sense to land there. Of course, this is all speculation and there's nothing further on this discovery at this time. In our number 7 spot, we have the Alaskan alien. On January 3rd, 1989, NASA's Alaska York Station made a great discovery. They found an alien frozen in ice. Yep, an alien, just like you see in the movies with the great big eyes and bald head. Makes you wonder if perhaps the movies are showcasing these creatures the same because we've already discovered aliens and someone somewhere is telling illustrators to paint them a specific way. I wish I was someone that had pull to know all of this top secret information, although I guess if I was, then I wouldn't be able to make this video as I would probably have a target on my back. There is no other information on this discovery as it is considered top secret, but it is definitely a sign that alien life has been to this planet. In our number 6 spot, we have alien eggs. In 2015, it was reported that 2 friends were walking along a frozen lake in Utah when they discovered the most peculiar thing. There was a strange formation in the middle of the lake that honestly gives me shivers to look at. If you are someone that feels uncomfortable looking at a bunch of dots together or eyeballs looking at you, definitely look away. This has the same sort of displeasing effect. Small holes were seen poking out from the ice with a strange formation lying underneath them. The theories around what this is include a UFO landing spot, something that aliens left when they visited Earth, and the popular theory is alien eggs. There were some things there that were slimy, so the 2 friends left them, and that's why people believe them to be eggs. What do you think this is? Let me know in the comment section below. In our number 5 spot, we have unknown frozen creatures. More frozen creatures in Siberia, you say? Yep, clearly this is an alien breeding ground of some sort. Strange creatures were recently found throughout Siberia. Many of these unknown creatures were found deceased and frozen in huge blocks of ice. There are creatures that have never been discovered which are believed to be alien, and even a species of dog was discovered that is so old it goes back to 1000 AD. Wow, well, I guess we're all going to have to plan our trip to Siberia, eh? I've always wanted to go on an alien expedition, so this is definitely where I will be going next. In our number 4 spot, we have frozen on Mars. Okay, this one is like a little bit of a stretch as this evidence was not found frozen on this planet, but it is evidence of alien life and it was found on Mars, and Mars can get to a temperature of minus 60 degrees Celsius, which is way past freezing, so whatever. Imagine that this evidence was found frozen, as it could very well have been. I just can't prove that and I wanted to share this anyway. In 1976, the Viking Mars landers detected chemical signatures that indicated potential past life on the planet, or perhaps present life. An experiment mixing soil with radioactive carbon-labeled nutrients tested positive, and even though other tests done at the time did not test positive, the original scientists and others that have reanalyzed the data still stand by the original finding. There is definitely a possibility of alien life on Mars. In our number 3 spot, we have aliens in the water. In an interview in 2017, ex-NASA scientist Alan Stern spoke about the theory of alien life underwater frozen. He mentions that aliens are bound to exist and that scientists should focus more on water worlds. When he was asked about why aliens haven't been found to date, he was quoted as saying that there are many possible explanations. The great majority of worlds with biology and civilizations are water-ocean worlds. ETs at the bottom of ocean worlds would be protected from the likes of deadly radiation from space if their planet does not have a protective atmosphere like it does here on Earth, and exploding stars. He went on to speak about how ocean worlds are usually freezing cold and that these aliens would be living beneath a thick sheet of ice, and that is what would make it impossible to contact them. Fascinating. I could totally see this to be true as there's so much of the ocean that we haven't even begun to explore yet. In our number 2 spot, we have alien fossils from Antarctica. Whoa, this is a wild one. In 1996, NASA scientists announced that they came upon a meteorite that appeared to be from Mars. A fossilized microbe in a potato-shaped lump of Martian rock was how it was described. It is believed that the meteorite was possibly from Mars and blasted off in a collision and wandered the solar system for, approximately 15 million years before coming to Earth and freezing for a little while in Antarctica. After further analysis of the rock, it apparently contained organic molecules and tiny specks of mineral magnetite as well as nanobacteria. There is much debate about whether this fully indicates alien life, but a lot of scientists believe that it does. In our number 1 spot, we have a frozen ancient civilization. In 2017, there was a whistleblower by the name of Corey Goad, who claimed that it was discovered that an ancient alien civilization is frozen and buried under 2 miles of ice in Antarctica. Apparently, this discovery was made in 1939 by a German expedition, but it was only until 2002 that archaeologists and scientists were allowed on the site. Apparently, Goad originally only knew about this secret expedition because of a USAF officer working in the program, but eventually Goad himself journeyed to Antarctica with the US Air Force to witness this secret project, where they have discovered the ruins of a 55,000-year-old alien civilization. Not much more was revealed, but hopefully in the next 10 years we will learn more about these findings.
Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have the New Jersey UFO. This UFO sighting took place in 2001 just above the New Jersey Turnpike. On July 14th, 2001, just after midnight, for around 15 minutes, motorists driving down the highway stopped to stare at the sky to witness what no one could believe. There were strange orange and yellow lights in a V formation just above the Arthur Kill waterway. There were a ton of witnesses who were all extremely confused and shocked as to what they were seeing. Air traffic controllers initially denied that there were any flying objects that could have caused the mysterious lights, but a group called the New York Strange Phenomena investigators claimed that they received radar data that night that could corroborate all of the stories that the witnesses were telling. It may not have been aliens, but it certainly was some sort of unidentified flying object that no one had ever seen before, and there were people from all walks of life witnessing it together. In our number 9 spot today, we have habitable planets. Before I dive into this one, guys, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you're enjoying the video so far, because it really helps us out. So, we once were on a journey to start off by figuring out which planets were actually habitable. And by that I mean which planets were rocky and which were orbiting a star within what is called the Goldilocks zone and had water, and that they weren't too hot or too cold so that water could be in liquid form. It just seems like the absolute basics needed in order to sustain life. Well, now, after more years of research, it is thought that actually about 1 in every 5 or 6 planets is actually a planet that could potentially sustain life. It is thought that there is roughly about 1 exoplanet for every star in our galaxy. That's a lot of planets, which means that's a lot of planets that could potentially have life. There certainly are planets that researchers believe are the most likely, but that doesn't mean that they are the only ones that should be looked into. Basically, what I'm saying is that there are, at the very least, millions of planets that could be hosting some form of life, whether it's an intelligent civilization or just single-cell organisms that have the potential to evolve over millions of years, just like us. Any kind of life would be a huge and exciting win for the science community, so it's just a reminder to us to keep searching, because we never know what we're going to find. In our number 8 spot today, we have the Stephenville UFO. In January of 2008, in the small town of Stephenville, Texas, a bunch of residents all saw something in the sky that they couldn't believe. In the beginning, it appeared to be white lights in the sky that were first in a single arc, but then they quickly moved to form 2 parallel lines. It was estimated that the lights were spanning about 1 mile long and half a mile wide. But the craziest part is that it was flying at 3,000 miles per hour, which is similar to the speed of a fighter jet, but there was no sound reported at all. The government chalked this sighting up to the US Air Force flight operation, but many of the residents who saw this event on that day were absolutely not convinced and truly felt like they were lied to. Some even explained that what they saw was too technologically advanced for human civilization. I want you guys to let me know in the comments if you believe the story that the government told, or if you trust the instincts of the people in Stephenville who saw that incident that day. In our number 7 spot today, we have time. This one is basically just the theory that we may not have found aliens yet because we haven't spent enough time looking for them. Realistically, it's been about half a century since we really gained the technological advancements that have allowed us to really look for them. In terms of the universe, that is the smallest little blink of an eye. Things take time, and it's incredibly possible that we just haven't had enough of it yet. Every year, as more money gets put into things like that, it allows incredibly smart and brilliant people the opportunity to create things that unbelievably make space more and more accessible to us. The more accessible it is, the more we will be able to discover. So maybe this is just a lesson in patience for all of us. If aliens do exist, I'm sure we'll find them at some point. Hopefully sooner rather than later, because I personally would like to meet an alien, but since I'm not an astronaut, I might have to wait a little longer than I'd like to. In our number 6 spot today, we have this unexplained UFO. In 2017, after the existence of the Advanced Aviation Threat Identification Program became more well known, a video was released of an encounter between an FA-18 Super Hornet and some sort of unidentified flying object. There weren't a ton of details released about exactly what happened during this encounter, but using a Raytheon Advanced Targeting forward-looking infrared pod, they were able to capture an extremely fast-moving white oval that was around 45 feet long. The oval had no wings and didn't appear to have any kind of exhaust either. They were tracking the UFO at an altitude of 25,000 feet just above the Atlantic Ocean, and then they were shocked as the craft rotated on its axis and flew away. There was no explanation released with the footage because it truly is unbelievable and currently unexplainable. In our number 5 spot today, we have They May Already Be Here. Okay, this one is for my conspiracy theorists out there. This is just the theory that maybe we can't find aliens because they've already found us and are actually walking among us, and we just don't know. I'm not quite sure the logistics of this one because I am definitely a human, and no alien who's posing as a human has ever revealed themselves to me personally, but I can't speak for everyone. It's possible that if this is true, aliens might be waiting for the right time to let us know that they've been walking around with us, or there may already be some lucky people out there who already know. I know a lot of us would be quite frightened of aliens if we did find concrete proof of their existence, and it might be likely that they're afraid of us as well. And if they are more intelligent than us and were able to find us first, they might just be testing out the waters to see what humans really think of them before letting us in on their secrets. So if you meet a stranger who starts asking you a bunch of questions about aliens, you might want to think twice next time. In our number 4 spot today, we have the Chicago UFO. This UFO sighting comes from November 7th, 2006 and was at the O'Hare International Airport in Chicago. Flight 446 was getting ready to head to North Carolina when an employee from United Airlines that was on the tarmac noticed a dark gray metallic aircraft hovering over one of the gates. After this, 11 other employees and even a few people who didn't work there saw this gray saucer floating around 4:15 p.m. The people who saw it explained that it hovered above the gate for around 5 minutes before it just shot itself upwards and broke through the clouds, leaving a hole where you could see the blue sky. The strangest thing, however, is that this flying saucer did not show up on the radar, so the Federal Aviation Administration just called it a weather phenomena and would not investigate it, despite there being around 15 witnesses who all saw the same thing. This story, however, became the most read story on the Chicago Tribune's website and even went international because it certainly is very interesting. In our number 3 spot today, we have light shifts. In the later half of 2015, a Penn State astronomer named Jason Wright explained that there were pretty erratic and spontaneous shifts in the light that was coming from a newly discovered star. This star sits about 1,280 light years away from us on Earth, and these shifts were very similar to as if something was passing in front of our view of the star briefly before passing right through. Scientists weren't able to connect this to any exoplanets or anything like that, which we could understand, and this is what led Jason to quite an interesting theory. He stated that it is possible that the shifts are caused by massive objects passing in front of the star in a kind of orbit, like an array of massive satellites or a similar kind of structure, like the type of thing that would be produced by an intelligent and civilized life form. Again, like many things, it's just a theory, but a very compelling one at that. In our number 2 spot today, we have the USS Princeton UFO. This UFO sighting comes from 2004. On November 14th of that year, the USS Princeton noticed an unknown aircraft of some sort that was about 100 miles off of the coast of San Diego. For 2 weeks prior to this, the crew had been tracking a strange flying object, and this one would start out at around 80,000 feet before extremely quickly dropping to hover right above the Pacific Ocean. Black Aces Commander David Fravor and Lieutenant Commander Jim Slate of Strike Fighter Squadron 41 went over in 2 fighter jets in order to kind of scope out the situation, and when they arrived, they saw what at first appeared to be churning water while there was an oval shape just below the surface. After this, a white oval-shaped object appeared above the water, but it had no markings on it. Like no windows, nothing that would indicate an engine, no wings, and the infrared monitors on the jets didn't pick up any sort of exhaust. The commander and lieutenant commander tried to intercept this strange aircraft, but it very quickly flew away and reappeared on the monitor 60 miles away. Like when I say quickly, I mean it was moving at 3 times the speed of sound and over twice the speed of fighter jets. So faster than any kind of technology we currently have. We still don't know exactly what this was, but I'm sure a lot of us are thinking the same thing. In our number 1 spot today, we have radio signals. Basically, we're getting radio signals from somewhere, but we just aren't quite sure what exactly is going on there. It started in 2007 when we began getting what are called fast radio bursts, and they are a totally mysterious phenomena to scientists. These bursts are only a few milliseconds long, but they emit more energy than the sun does in 24 hours, which is just a statement that my brain struggles to comprehend. All of this is already super cool and very interesting, but here's an even crazier thing about them. The main thing we know about these bursts is that they are coming from outside of the Milky Way. They're coming from outside of our own galaxy. Space is the coolest and most unbelievable thing. This obviously had led a lot of experts to believe that it could be coming from an advanced civilization that is quite far away, and they may be trying to contact us, but we just don't have the technology to interpret the signals. Maybe one day scientists will figure out a way to accept whatever message it is they're trying to send, or maybe one day we'll get a visit from them and they'll be mad at us for not answering their messages. Either way, it's all very cool and very interesting.
Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have the pink see-through Fantasia. While the name of these guys would kind of make someone think that they're like cool and sexy, in reality these guys are definitely not that. The pink see-through Fantasia is a sea cucumber normally found about 1.5 miles deep in the waters of the Celebes Sea, which is located in the western Pacific. These guys were actually discovered only quite recently in 2007, but there's something about them that might either prove that they've been here for much longer, or maybe they had quite the chance to develop their survival skills somewhere else. These guys are able, when frightened, to emit a light through bioluminescence in order to scare off potential predators. This animal of course gets its name through its see-through appearance and pink color, and this is what makes their intestines completely visible to the outside world. In our number 9 spot today, we have the vampire squid. The scientific name of these creatures directly translates into vampire squid from hell, and they get their name from their fantastic red color, their glowing eyes, and their webbing in between the arms, which appears as a sort of cloak. Well, that's where the vampire part comes from. The squid part is a little trickier. While the vampire squid shares quality with both squid and octopuses, they don't actually belong to either of these families, and they are instead in a category of their own entirely. In the past, there were more members in this same family, but the vampire squid is now the last remaining member, which is why they are often referred to as a living fossil. In our number 8 spot today, we have the leafy sea dragon. These are a creature that are definitely one of the coolest looking on this list. A lot of weird sea creatures tend to look absolutely horrifying, but these ones are most definitely a little easier on the eyes. These fish belong to the family that includes pipefish and seahorses, but they are the only species in their genus. The leafy sea dragon is most commonly found along the southern and western coasts of Australia, and they are very obviously named from their appearance. It would seem as though these guys would use these leafy protrusions to help propel them through the water, but that is not the case, and instead they are merely used as camouflage. These sea dragons are usually quite solitary, but they also have an incredible sense of direction.
alien. It was once thought that they didn't travel very far, but it was later discovered that they actually travel several hundred miles, but use this keen sense of direction to return to the same spots, which is actually very cool. In our number 7 spot today, we have the fossil monster. Okay, so as the name would suggest, this isn't a still living creature, and instead is one that has been found in a fossil. These fossils pertaining to one particular creature have only been found in one spot, and they come from a time about 300 million years ago when what is now Illinois was covered in water. Found in the Mason Creek fossil beds, they have found the fossils of an animal called Tullymonstrum gregarium, or simply the Tully monster. What is so unique about these fossils from this creature, other than the fact that it lived 300 million years ago, which is wild, is that attempts at classifying this creature have been highly controversial. Interpretations of this fossil have been likened to mollusks, arthropods, conodonts, worms, and vertebrates. It is super weird that this creature, with fossils located in only one place from 300 million years ago, is super hard to classify because it has a bunch of different attributes that could be placed in a number of different animal classes. I'm not saying it's an alien, I'm just saying it's a little mysterious. In our number 6 spot today, we have the mimic octopus. Octopuses in general are all insane. Like, I fully believe that basically all of them could be from another planet because I just don't understand how they look like that, how they're all so smart, and how they can individually use their little suckers. I don't know. They're just fascinating creatures, and the mimic octopus is no exception. These guys are normally found in the Indo-Pacific, and they get their name from their unbelievable ability to use chromatophores to blend in with their surroundings or perhaps to impersonate another marine animal. Most of the time they use this ability to defend themselves from predators, but they can also be seen using it to help them catch their prey. For example, they might appear as a crab's potential mate before they chomp down on their certainly confused and surprised tasty snack. In our number 5 spot today, we have the peacock mantis shrimp. I mean, need I say more? These guys can be found in the Indian and tropical western Pacific Oceans, and man are they a wondrous sight. They get their peacock name from their fantastic colors, but despite how awesome these candy-colored shrimp are to look at, this actually isn't what they are known best for. These guys are actually best known for their ability to quickly punch with their front 2 appendages, and despite their tiny size, don't underestimate their power. Apparently, this punch is one of the fastest movements in the entire animal kingdom. In fact, it's so fast that it causes enough power to be able to break the glass wall of an aquarium. I mean, they definitely know how to pack a punch. Luckily, they usually save this sort of thing to break open mollusks and help them get through a crab's armor. In our number 4 spot today, we have the colossal squid. The colossal squid is a creature that is not to be confused with the giant squid, which is similar but slightly smaller. These guys live in the darkest, coldest depths surrounding the waters of Antarctica. This creature lives up to its name as it reaches an average of 46 feet in size, and it weighs around 500 kilograms, with the females being the largest of the species. They also have large tentacles equipped with suckers that have little razor hooks on them to better latch onto its prey, so let's hope it's not you. Its diet mainly consists of large fish, such as the 7-foot Patagonian toothfish. It also includes small ones, and sometimes they even consume their own kind. But they've also been known to try and consume larger prey, like sperm whales, who often have been seen with scars attributing to the battles they must have faced. They're colossal, they're scary, and they're ambitious. What more could you want from a sea monster? Only 2 specimens have ever been collected, with the second being found recently in 2014. If you ever wondered where the tails of the Kraken came from, you now know. In our number 3 spot today, we have the predatory tunicate. Okay, say what you want about any other fish on this list today, but these guys definitely look the most like aliens, and honestly, they are the epitome of deep sea weirdness. The predatory tunicate is like the Venus flytrap of the deep sea. They start out life kind of like tadpoles, and then they swim until they find their perfect spot, either along a canyon wall or right on the sea floor. Once they found their spot, they plant themselves in place using a natural adhesive that they produce. Once planted, they will undergo a huge change, and this is where they will stay for the rest of their lives. They are super picky about where exactly they make their homes because it will be where they stay, and because they need to make sure that both the chemicals in the water in that area as well as the temperature of the water is just right. Unfortunately, if these guys get moved from the location they choose to make their home, they will die, so it's imperative that they're just left alone. They basically wait for food to drift on by, and like a Venus flytrap, when they get their meal, their mouths will snap shut until they're done digesting. The predatory tunicate is a point of study in the medical world because they actually have been known to help with some more serious medical conditions, which is always an incredible thing. In our number 2 spot today, we have the sea pen. Okay, this thing under the sea looks a lot like a pen, right? Well, the orange sea pen is not a pen, and it's not even a sort of plant. It's actually a colony of animals that can withdraw into the soft sediment wherever it is found. So I just heard of these guys today, but it turns out they are a lot more common, and there are actually about 300 species of sea pens. To make them even more out of this world, it is said that with a little stimulation, they glow with a green sort of light. So, I don't know about you, but that's the most alien thing I've ever heard. In our number 1 spot today, we have the Yeti crab. Okay, I'll be honest, these guys are on this list today because they look so incredibly strange, but they are also remarkably unique. These furry clawed crabs, yes, you heard me, they were first discovered 5,000 feet deep in the ocean near a hydrothermal vent. They were found just south of Easter Island, and when found, it was realized that they were not only in a new genus of their own, but a new family as well. Because of the deep, dark, and extreme environment that these guys live in, not much about them is known at this point in time. It is believed that they likely don't have sight, and it's also thought that they might have a sort of bacteria that resides in its furry claws, which allows it to detoxify the food that is coming from the vent. Listen, the ocean is scary, but it's also unbelievable and truly incredible.
I don't think any alien conspiracy theory would be complete without talking about Area 51. For those of you guys who have been living under a rock, I'm here to help you. Well, Area 51 is a US Air Force military installation that is located in Nevada. It is not accessible to the public, and it is under 24-hour surveillance. Back in 1989, a man by the name of Robert Lazar testified that he worked on extraterrestrial technology inside of Area 51. He also told reporters that he saw autopsy pictures of aliens inside of the building, and that the US government used Area 51 to examine recovered alien spacecrafts. Many people have reported that they've seen UFOs flying in or near Area 51. The US government has not provided the public with any information about what research is going on here, and that has left us with a lot of questions. But get this, the Pentagon officially confirmed that there was a $22 million government program that collected and analyzed aerospace threats, which could be a fancy way of saying that they studied UFOs. And now, flying into number 9, we're talking about Roswell. This is probably one of the most popular UFO incidents that has ever happened in the United States. Back in the summer of 1947, an unidentified flying object crashed near Roswell, New Mexico. People nearby reported that the flying object looked like a flying disc, and the US military released a statement saying that one of the objects was actually a weather balloon. But the public wasn't buying that, and a ton of conspiracy theories started to spread. People claimed that one or more alien spacecrafts has crash landed, and that the aliens were taken by military to be studied at Area 51, and this whole thing is a massive cover-up. But things get even more interesting. Back in 1995, a clip of an alien autopsy was released. Unfortunately, this video was debunked, but certain people who had access to Roswell claimed that this video is a reconstruction, but it is based on genuine footage that was lost or damaged. Majestic 12 and Project Blue Book makes its way onto this list at number 8. Project Blue Book was an initiative by the United States Air Force, and it had two main objectives. One, well, to determine if UFOs are actually a threat, to the national security, and two, to analyze UFO sightings and data. Thousands of reports were collected and analyzed, but the government claimed that there is zero proof that alien life exists. But this didn't stop alien conspiracy theorists. A lot of them believe that Project Blue Book was just a huge cover-up and distraction. They believe that there is actually a top-secret international team called Majestic 12 that is composed of military leaders and government officials who are actually responsible for investigating aliens and UFOs. This would explain how the spacecraft crash in Roswell was covered up. I mean, what do you guys think? Could there be a top secret government agency that is currently dealing with extraterrestrial investigations? I'm definitely not going to rule that one out. Men in Black brings us to number 7. Before you get too excited, I'm not talking about Will Smith here. Some people are saying that anyone who tries to uncover government secrets about aliens and UFOs would get a visit from a group of highly intimidating officials in dark suits. These men will supposedly threaten your life if you decide to report an alien encounter, or if you say you saw a UFO. But why would the government want to keep all of this quiet? And some conspiracy theories, they believe that aliens might be on Earth with us already, right now. And if ordinary citizens realize just how close we are to aliens, there would be a massive panic and chaos would be everywhere. Why haven't we met aliens yet? Well, this question brings us to number 6. I'm gonna say that this question applies to the majority of us. Of course, there are a bunch of people who claim to have been abducted by aliens, so obviously this question doesn't apply to them. So let me ask you again, why haven't we met aliens yet? According to one theory, they believe that aliens have been around for much longer than us, which means that they have been evolving and adapting much longer than humans. So despite what Hollywood wants us to believe, aliens probably aren't these green, slimy creatures with big heads. They probably evolved into highly intelligent creatures and we don't even realize that we're living among them. Maybe we're just living in one giant ball and aliens are studying our every move. It's like the Truman Show. And we're all Truman. Secret alien base breaks onto this list at number 5. Have you ever wondered what's on the dark side of the moon? Well, there are a bunch of conspiracy theories about a secret alien base that is located there. In 1976, the Apollo 20 mission went to explore the dark side of the moon. And apparently they found an alien spacecraft embedded into the moon's surface. I mean, take a look at these pictures right here. What do you guys think this is? People are claiming that this is proof that either an alien spacecraft crashed here, or there is a gigantic alien base set up on the moon. I guess having a base there would make it highly convenient for aliens to make day trips to Earth. Up next, number 4, we have the infamous Diet Love incident. Traveling back to January 1959, 9 college students were brutally murdered under extremely mysterious circumstances. And this is while they were hiking through the mountains. When investigators arrived at the scene, they saw that the tent had been cut open from the inside and most of their stuff had been left behind. The first 5 bodies were found and the cause of death was hypothermia. But the next 4 bodies were found 2 months later and their deaths were very mysterious. One of them had significant damage to his skull and the other one had major chest fractures that can only be caused by a super strong force. One of the bodies was missing her tongue, her eyes, and part of her lips. Some of her facial tissue and a fragment of her skull was gone as well. Experts can't determine what really happened while they were hiking, which makes people believe that aliens are responsible for these 9 deaths. Reptilians crawl onto this list at number 3. This conspiracy theory is probably one of my favorites. Apparently they are blood-drinking, flesh-eating, shape-shifting, extraterrestrial reptilian humans with only one objective. They want to enslave the human race, of course. These reptilians are our world leaders, corporate executives, and even celebrities. They are responsible for the Holocaust, the Oklahoma City bombing, and the 9/11 attacks. So who are these lizard people? We have Justin Bieber, Hillary Clinton, Queen Elizabeth II, Angelina Jolie, Melania Trump, Katy Perry, George W. Bush, Obama, and Mark Zuckerberg himself, who might actually be the leader of them. And who knows, maybe I'm a lizard person as well, and my videos have subliminal messages in them. I guess you'll never know, unless you go rewatch them all. A tragic expedition gone horribly wrong comes onto this list at number 2. So back in the early 1800s, people believed that there was a secret program that hid a race of giant aliens in the Canadian Arctic. I've never heard of this one. Well, these aliens are very knowledgeable and they had the ability to emit high levels of radiation, and they can also levitate heavy objects. An Arctic exploration voyage was set to take place in 1845, but things went horribly wrong. The team stumbled across these aliens and it is believed that they were being experimented on and the aliens ate them alive. I guess that would explain why their remains were never found, so could be plausible. And finally, number 1, we have esoteric Hitlerism. Well, these people believe that members of the Aryan race come from highly superior alien life forms. Apparently, these alien civilizations came to Earth to teach them about enlightenment and to breed with humans. So these conspiracy theories believe that the only people left with the purity of the alien gene in their blood are Arons. They also believe that Hitler escaped at the end of World War II and fled to the Arctic, where he's still hiding in a secret underground bunker with these aliens. Far-fetched, possibly. Some say that he's patiently waiting in this bunker until he can come back up to the surface to regain his power. Well, I won't be holding my breath waiting for that day to come.
And we're starting it off today with Pukwudgies. The Pukwudgie is a creature from Native American folklore that is said to inhabit the forests of the northeastern United States. According to legend, Pukwudgies are mischievous tricksters who can cause harm to humans if they are angered or offended. There have been a number of reported sightings of the creatures throughout Ohio. According to folklore, Pukwudgies are small humanoid creatures that stand about 2 to 3 feet tall. They are said to have gray skin, large ears, and a large nose. Some legends also describe them as having quills or spines on their backs. They're believed to be skilled hunters and are said to use their magical powers to disappear and reappear at will. They're also said to have the ability to shapeshift into animals or objects. In some Native American traditions, Pukwudgies are viewed as protectors of the forest and are said to have the power to ward off evil spirits. However, in other legends, Pukwudgies are seen as mischievous troublemakers who enjoy playing pranks on humans. So if you do happen to see one, prepare to be clowned. Next on the list, we have the cedar bog monster. Now, this is one of those cryptids that could very well be a Sasquatch, or of course, a grassman as it's known locally in Ohio. It's more of a name given to the specific place this creature was seen though. When Cedar Bog opened as a nature preserve in 1942, people immediately began flocking to the area to witness the various species of birds, the fish and plants, and just soak in the nature. But what they didn't expect or want to see was a large, hairy humanoid creature. But many did report seeing the big ape-like creature strolling along Woodburn Road, which runs right beside the bog. They reported that whatever the thing was too large to be a man. I'm also sure the fur and gorilla-like face kinda gave that away too, possibly. There was also an incident where 3 teenagers went missing in the park while on a camping trip. Apparently, there were reports of loud screams coming from Cedar Bog. At number 8, we have the Charles Mills Lake Monster. Now, there's only one reported encounter with this creature, but it's a pretty eerie story. On the night of March 28th, 1959, 1959 is going to come up a lot on this list, by the way. I don't know what it was about that year, but there was some stuff going on in Ohio. Anyway, 3 teenage boys had been hanging out around the Charles Mill Reservoir when they suddenly saw something forming out of the dark water before them. It was a 7-foot-tall humanoid that began moving towards them. It was described as having no arms, bright glowing green eyes, and webbed feet. The teens obviously booked it out of there and reported what they saw to authorities, who made their way to the area, where they came across footprints, if you could even describe whatever made the tracks as feet. They were large indents that appeared as if they were made by webbed feet. Who knows what this thing was? Even if it was real or just a hoax, there was indeed a large fishy monster skulking around the lake. I'm guessing it must have smelt like a sewer. Number 7, alien big cats. Alien big cats are a very real thing. These are big cats like panthers or leopards found outside of their natural environments. The alien part doesn't mean that these cats are from outer space, but then again, who knows how they got there, right? In 2011, there were several sightings of supposed alien big cats in and around Dayton, Ohio. A private zoo owner by the name of Terry Thompson had released upwards of 50 animals into the wild before, unfortunately, taking his own life in October of 2011, which resulted in, of course, several reports of large cats spotted throughout the area. 48 of them were either put under by police or sent off to Columbus Zoo. There had been reports of alien big cat sightings before these animals were known to be released, though, which is strange. Multiple sightings of black panthers dating back to April of 2011, and police would continue investigating sightings until around April of 2012. Phantom kangaroos. Alright, so we have big cats being reported in Ohio, so now we're moving on to kangaroos. Ohio's just full of dangerous wildlife, apparently. The phantom kangaroo is a cryptid that is said to resemble a kangaroo or wallaby and is believed to inhabit various parts of the world, including the United States. Basically, again, these are kangaroos showing up in places they shouldn't be, like Ohio. Except the stranger part is that these phantom kangaroos have been spotted where no escaped kangaroos have been reported. The creature is known for its elusive nature, as well as its ability to seemingly disappear without a trace and leave no evidence behind, almost like a ghost. A phantom kangaroo, if you will. Some experts believe that these sightings may be the result of misidentifications, of course, of other animals like large domestic dogs or coyotes, but I don't know, maybe there's some kangies running around in Ohio. Number 5, devil monkeys. So yeah, it seems like there are all kinds of hairy apes and monkeys in Ohio as well. Who would have guessed? You got Grassman, who may or may not be Bigfoot, the hairy orange-eyed creature we talked about in part 1, and now this baboon-looking beast. The devil monkey is a cryptid that is believed to inhabit the forests and rural areas of North America, described as a large, aggressive primate-like creature with gray or black fur and red eyes. The devil monkey is known for its terrifying appearance and alleged attacks on humans and domestic animals. There have been numerous reports of sightings of the creature in Ohio and other parts of the US. Witnesses have described encountering a large bipedal creature that stands on 2 legs and resembles a monkey or baboon with a fierce expression and a tendency to attack without provocation. There are many folks that are convinced that the devil monkey is a real creature, and sightings continue to be reported until this day. Some cryptozoologists speculate that the devil monkey may be a new species of primate that is yet to be officially recognized, while others believe it could be a surviving member of a prehistoric primate species that was previously thought to be extinct. The Trumbull County UFO incident. Next up, we have a well-documented UFO sighting. There have been multiple UFO sightings in the state of Ohio, dating back a long ways, but this one is from 1994. I don't see why aliens wouldn't want to observe Ohio. Seems like there's a lot going on, as you could probably tell from these lists. Maybe they were hovering around, placing bets on what creature they'd spot first. Lots to choose from. There were tons of witnesses to this odd event on December 14th, 1994. Citizens, multiple police officers, dispatchers. It was pretty significant. Multiple residents had reported seeing low flying lights in the sky. The first police officer on the scene, Sergeant Toby Malero, had a pretty odd incident. As he was moving closer to the odd lights in the sky, talking with the dispatcher the entire time, his radio suddenly stopped working and his vehicle just shut off before he was engulfed in a bright light from above. He exited his vehicle, not quite knowing how to go about this odd occurrence, and reported seeing a giant circular shaped object hovering in the sky, which apparently made no sound. Once the object flew away, his car and radio, bam, started working again. 14 other law enforcement officers also saw these mysterious UFOs that night, with one even climbing up on a radar tower for a better view, and then claimed to have seen 3 circular flying objects that changed color in unison. Number 3, Helltown. So while this one is a place and not actually a cryptid per se, it is reported to be an incredibly strange and dangerous place where all sorts of spooky happenings occur. Helltown has been left behind, now an abandoned town where nothing but empty homes, cathedrals, and unused bridges still stand, though there are some who are said to still reside there, such as ghosts, mutant animals, and cultists. The residents of the town formerly known as Boston, Ohio, had been forced to leave their homes in 1974 when President Gerald Ford signed a bill that gave the federal government's National Park Service jurisdiction to expropriate land for establishment of natural parks. The NPS began buying up properties, and eventually it was a ghost town. In the mid-80s, there were several chemical spills in Helltown that some believed resulted in the mutated animals spotted in the area. And apparently there's also a haunted school bus and stuff like that. Interesting place to go, I'd imagine. And at number 2, we have Octoman. On a cold Cincinnati night in January of 1959, police began receiving several reports of a strange octopus-like creature. It started with a man who called police in a panic, saying that he saw something come out of the river, calling it completely indescribable. This report was followed by one from a truck driver just soon after, claiming to have seen a strange creature while driving into Cincinnati. More and more reports began coming in, but it was hard for anyone to describe exactly what they were seeing. What police did note, however, was that the people calling about these encounters sounded pretty shaken up. Even though the police kind of didn't believe it, they were joking a little bit, that was one thing they did know. These people sounded like they did see something. The more reports that came in as well, the closer they would get to form a description of the creature. A very large creature with grayish skin, tentacles, and a lopsided chest. Sounds like a pretty attractive creature there. One person was stated as saying, "It was large, not a dog or a cat. It leaped in front of my car and on two legs and it was taller than the auto. When I looked back in my mirror, it was moving along the bridge rail. It was 3 or 4 times the size of a man and much bulkier. I have an eye in mind for dimensions, and I know it was huge." And coming in at number 1 is the Peninsula Python. Now, this is a really interesting one because it really did exist. Sure, it's not really a cryptid per se, but this was an incident that actually took place, and it's pretty wild stuff. The summer of 1944, people in Summit County, Ohio began spotting a massive-sized python in Cuyahoga Valley National Park. It was reported being around 15 feet in length and incredibly thick. It was a python, definitely a real animal. It was just in the wrong part of the world, that's all. It's still kind of a mystery as to how it got there, but it's rumored that it was being transported through the area, possibly for a circus or something, but managed to escape. Residents were understandably pretty scared that summer as the giant snake roamed through farms, leaving giant tire-sized indents in its wake. It even attacked livestock. The python was also never found, just disappeared eventually. Most likely died curled up somewhere after succumbing to the Ohio winter though. With all that said, I've been your host, James, and I will catch you, yes you specifically, in the next video.
Create a video using exactly this script. Want to see more videos like this one? Check out this video next. It's about rare archaeological finds that could, believe it or not, rewrite history. Click the video now to find out more.